Later, Nightflight brings you Australia's own Norman Gunston. Kung Fu comedian Frankie Pace hosts Rickshaw's Take That Takeout Theater. Rock your brains with teen dream Debbie Gibson, and Nightflight goes to the movies to preview Crocodile Dundee 2 and more. Join us for Nightflight's new Filmmaker series with 2 bizarre offerings from Glasshouse Pictures, and celebrate summer with the Cars, the Go-Go's, and the Untouchables when Nightflight takes off to beaches, barbecues, and bikinis, followed by a viewer's choice profile of rock provocateur Malcolm McLaren. Stay with Nightflight for more movies, music, videos, and comedy in stereo all night long. Dynakids, 5,000 lizards, and Mr. Fabulous fight it out when Dynaman continues after this. Welcome back to Nightflight and the adventures of Dynaman. And now Nightflight brings you Australian wild man Norman Gunston. This time he's out for blood. Horror movies of all time. Night of the Living Dead, George Romero's classic about flesh-eating zombies. Our story begins when a freak dose of radiation by one of America's unsuccessful space probes activates the brains of the recent dead. Made in 1968 in rural Pennsylvania, Night of the Living Dead is shocking in its graphic depiction of cannibalism. We now begin Night of the Living Dead. The following program may contain controversial material. Viewer discretion is advised. George Romero's classic, Night of the Living Dead, returns. And tonight's horror classic, Night of the Living Dead. Made in Pennsylvania on a budget of $114,000, Night of the Living Dead is one of the most controversial gore and guts exploitation films ever made. We return to Night of the Living Dead. Nightflight returns to Night of the Living Dead after this. In tonight's film, Night of the Living Dead, zombies eat bones and intestines furnished by the local neighborhood butcher in the Pennsylvania community where this George Romero classic was shot in 1968. Now darkness descends on the Night of the Living Dead. George Romero was born in 1940 and grew up in the East Bronx, where he became a fan of the macabre. His early influences dominate tonight's classic of unrelenting terror, Night of the Living Dead. An orgy of sadism made by filmmakers with no social responsibility. We return to tonight's classic, Night of the Living Dead. Bella's back, and Nightflight's got him in The Invisible Ghost. More after this. In 1931, the eyes of Bela Lugosi hypnotized audiences when he played the world's most famous vampire in Dracula. We now return to Bela Lugosi in The Invisible Ghost. We return to Bela Lugosi in one of his greatest roles as a mad doctor after this. Lugosi has a split personality in tonight's thriller, Invisible Ghost.